Well, with Paul not here, I guess first question's up for grabs. We'll go with Danny P. in Paul's seat.
Coach, I know it's still a couple of days before you play, but just I don't know if you've seen the guys since Tuesday night, but what's the vibe been kind of the last couple of days?
I've seen a couple of them, but, we have our mandatory day off that sometimes people forget about per the NCAA rules, so we can't have any required activities, so we don't, have any meetings or practice or weights or any of that stuff. Hopefully some of them got in the gym like they always do and continue to work on their craft in terms of shooting shots, etc. But we'll see him here this afternoon, and like we talked about after the Alabama game, it's going to be on us to kind of refocus, get the setting right, and move our focus towards LSU and certainly the rest of the season.
We'll go to Jacob to Coach's right.
They played some really good teams close this year. What impresses you most about this LSU team?
They got a nice combination of what you would like in a team in terms of, they got a guard that can really score the ball with Cam Carter and his ability to, just go get buckets in a variety of ways. They've got, size around the basket with athleticism and shot blocking, and Collins and Miller, the bigger guys that play the majority of the minutes, Chest as well. They're athletes. They can protect the rim, they can run, they can score the ball. They're improving in watching the tape. They've improved with their skill set as the season has progressed, and they got wings that can slash and shoot and run the court. So I know that their record isn't what they would like it to be, but just impressed with how they've continued to compete at the highest level. And they're in games, even the ones they're losing, they're having opportunities to win their games. Their record could easily be different than it is right now, and I can't imagine they're not going to be here Saturday at 2:30 raring to go, and we've just got to get our guys ready to go as well.
We'll go back to Coach's left with Benjamin and then Sam.
I know it's getting pretty late in the season, but have there been any discussions with the rest of your staff or your players about changing any sort of defensive schemes, just with some teams being able to shoot the ball with quite a bit of accuracy and efficiency against you guys in recent games?
We talked about that a couple weeks ago prior to the 2-game mini win streak that we had, and we did a deep dive in that week off, and we did tweak some things defensively that for a couple games it helped us, in terms of number of attempts, in terms of efficiency by the other teams, or inefficiency depending on your perspective. And then obviously here in the last game, it didn't work, and a lot of that has to do with who we played and their style of play and where we played it at. And I think it's a situation where we're not happy, obviously, with the outcome or with how it went down, but a lot of it had to do with how well they played and how well they shot the ball, how well they moved the ball. It became contagious. It just ran through their team. You could see it, unfortunately, developing right in front of us, and they played awfully well. They played really, really well, and the first 7-8 minutes of the game, it unfolded, how we needed it to unfold. Other than, getting some guys in some foul issues, and then it just changed, and we could never get any momentum back. We could never, just slow them down, and it just got obviously to the point where, unfortunately you have your realization point where, like, we're not going to win this game, and at that point you're just trying to continue to compete and fight and not have any give up, and it's a helpless feeling when that happens, and it's no fun at all. But it happens, especially in this league and especially this year. I'm not happy about it. Nobody's happy about it. But this league and some of the teams in this league are capable of having unbelievable nights like that. And what you can't do is just let it completely demoralize you and beat you down to the point where it affects you going forward. And I got full confidence in our leadership in this group and these kids that this afternoon and Friday and then on Saturday at 2:30 we'll be ready to go.
At this point in the season, do you look at or analyze some of the bracketology predictions and things for March Madness and talk about it with the team, or do you just not really even bother doing stuff like that?
Fortunately, I've been able to answer that question 3 years in a row now at this point in the year. And certainly, I can't sit here and lie to you, and I don't know what other coaches say because I don't pay that much attention, but I don't know how you can't see it, unless you just shut down social media, which probably isn't a bad alternative, to be honest with you. But it's in your face. The people I follow obviously are, for the most part, college basketball, folks. So it's hard to avoid it. But, I know where we stand, more importantly, with our metrics. I've talked about that for a while now. I pay attention to that. I think I need to know where our team is. And I don't break it down with our guys to all the details, but we talk about it. We've been talking about it for weeks, about our metrics and our stock, if you were looking at it that way, and how important it is and that everything matters. Do we go into the minutiae of what other people are projecting us to be? No, we don't do that. And I do tell them that, hey, I don't know how far the rabbit hole you go. I would advise you to not. But at the same time, I can't control, what they're doing and how much they're paying attention to that. But because of the world we're living in now, like, I don't know how you don't talk about it to an extent because of, like I just said, there's so much exposure to it. There's so many people giving their opinion about it and writing about it. So, we talk about it in our room, but we don't dwell on it. We certainly, focus on trying to get better and preparing for the next game.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go back to Jacob to Coach's right, and then
Coach,
we'll go to David.
Coach, after the game on Tuesday, RJ mentioned the offense was kind of stagnant and that it happens sometimes, and he thinks that's why they struggle. From your perspective, what do you think causes that?
Yeah, we've had issues with stagnation. It's usually as the game progresses, we get tired a little bit offensively, mentally or physically, where we just won't do the little things that we need to do for this particular team to create small advantages offensively for one another. And we just kind of stand a little bit too much and not continue to do the things that we preach and practice every single day. And I think it's much mental as it is physical, but it happens, and we've got to be better at it. And certainly we watch a lot of film trying to get them to understand, why our offense struggles at times. And then, again, I've talked about this before, and it's just human nature. When the other team's scoring at a high clip and you're not, or you're having some silly turnovers that turn into scores and then the crowd gets into the game, it makes offense harder. It just does. It makes defense harder. Like you're motivated a little bit by that. When you're clicking on both ends, the juice is flowing, your energy's high, your motivation's high. As much as every coach would like to tell you that they're not predicated on one another, but sometimes they are.
Josh Hubbard is a finalist again for the Howell Trophy, going for a second. We can look at his stats and see where he's better or equal, whatever, to last year, but what are things that you as coaches see in Josh that he's a different player, a better player this year that maybe wouldn't be noticed outside?
Well, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. One, just raw data. I mean, just look at his assist-to-turnover ratio, how much better it is this year than it was last year. His decision-making with the ball in his hands has improved drastically. His focus on defense has been much better than it was a year ago. His attention to detail, his ability off the ball to be in the right spot more often than not has improved his overall game. And what you don't see is the behind the scenes leadership stuff and the finding his voice and using it as a sophomore on a team that's got a bunch of older guys. But he's earned the respect, and nobody looks at him funny when he starts talking about what we need to be doing or repeat repeating some of the things that maybe a coach had said a day or two before that comes out of his mouth. So certainly there's data that support that he's better with like I mentioned, but at the same time, all the things that maybe the layman wouldn't see that's going on behind the scenes. I know he's a better player. He knows he's a better player, and Josh is not satisfied. I mean, he's one of those guys that's continued to strive for more, and that's why it makes him such a really, really good player.
We'll go to Sam to wrap it up.
I believe Cam Carter transferred before your first season here, but I'm wondering if you two crossed over for a little bit at all, or if you know him at all, and what kind of impresses you about his game, since he got to LSU.
Yeah, Cam was here when I arrived. He had played the previous year for the previous staff, and so we definitely met and had some conversations, before he decided to, in the portal world that we're living in, transfer. And, I've not followed him, but certainly, again, social media and paying attention to college basketball, I'm well aware of what he did at Kansas State, and then more aware of what he's doing here at LSU because he's in the league now, and especially recently with us about to play him. But from all accounts, great human being, great kid, obviously a really, really good player. And, he's played at 3 schools now, and he's had continued success wherever he's been. And I'm sure he'll be, excited to come back to Starkville and see, some of his old buddies that he played against and play against his old team. And, we'll have to be mindful of that.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you Saturday.
All right.